Every so often in the world of finance, a number comes along that just makes you stop and go, wait, how did they do that? Well, today we're digging into one of those stories, the anatomy of Onity Group's absolutely incredible 2025. This isn't just about a company making a lot of money. It's a masterclass in strategy. Let's get into it.
So let's just start with the headline number, $185.4 million. And get this isn't their revenue for 2025. No, this is their net income, pure profit. It's a staggering figure that really sets the stage for everything else we're about to unpack. And yeah, that leads us right to the big question, doesn't it? How on earth does a company boost its profits by over 450% in just 1 year? I mean, that's not a typo. And spoiler alert, it wasn't just luck. This was the result of a very deliberate multi-year plan finally kicking into high gear. So let's break down exactly how they pulled it off.
Okay, here's our game plan. We'll start with just how massive this year was, then we'll dive into the specific numbers. After that, we'll unpack the actual strategy that powered all this growth. And finally, we'll look at what they're doing to keep the momentum going.
First up, a record-breaking year. Let's really set the stage for what a massive turnaround this period was for Onity Group.
And hey, you don't have to take my word for it. The company's own CEO, Glenn Messina, flat out called 2025 a turning point. Now, that's a key phrase. It tells you this wasn't just a good quarter. It was a fundamental shift, a successful transformation they'd been working on from the inside. Okay, so the company is calling it a transformation. Let's see if the numbers actually back that up. In this next part, we're going to look at the numbers behind the headlines to see just how explosive this growth really was. And wow, this chart says it all, doesn't it? I mean, just look at that jump. In 2024, their net income was a very respectable $33.4 million. But then look at 2025. It just explodes to $185.4 million. You don't need a PhD in finance to see that something extraordinary happened here. So, all that profit is great, but what does it mean for shareholders? Well, that's where earnings per share, or EPS, comes in. And it's the same story. It leaped from just over $4 in 2024 to almost $21.50 in 2025. The key takeaway here is that this wasn't just some number on a spreadsheet, it was a huge increase in value delivered right back to the company's owners. Now, this next number helps explain how they did it. $328 billion. So what is that? That is the total value of their servicing portfolio. The easiest way to think about it is this. It's the grand total of all the mortgages they manage for other banks. This portfolio is the absolute engine of their business, and its growth is at the very heart of this story. So how'd they grow that engine? Well, this right here breaks down the key parts. First, funded originations, that's just a fancy term for new loans they created, shot up 43%. Second, recapture volume, which is basically convincing their own customers to refinance with them, more than doubled. The company's book value per share jumped by $17. And maybe most impressive, their return on equity hit a massive 35%. I mean, any one of these would be great news. All of them together is just phenomenal. Okay, this brings us right to our third section, Onity's engine of growth. We've seen what they pulled off. Now we're going to get into the how. What was the strategy behind all this success? At the very core of their success is this thing they call a balanced business model. So what's that? Well, in simple terms, it's a strategy that's built to be tough, to be resilient. They focus on two things at once, creating brand new mortgages, which they call originations, and managing the giant portfolio of loans they already have, which is servicing. This balance means they can do well whether interest rates are high or low. It's a really smart setup. Let's make that even simpler. Their whole playbook really comes down to these 3 steps. Step 1, grow originations. Go out and write a ton of new loans. Step 2, expand servicing. Make that massive portfolio we talked about even bigger. And step 3, this is the modern twist, leverage AI. They use a custom AI platform to make the whole operation faster, smarter, and way more efficient. And again, let's hear it straight from the source. The CEO, Glenn Messina, directly credits their balanced business model and their AI platform for these killer results. This really drives the point home. This success was no accident. It was the result of a clear plan perfectly executed. All right, on to our final section, smart moves, future focus. Look, having a record year is fantastic, but what are they actually doing with all that success? This is all about how they're using this momentum to plan for what's coming down the road. And their recent actions, well, they speak volumes. They're launching a share buyback, which is really a company betting on itself. They released a $120 million tax allowance. Now, that's a pretty technical move, but what it's basically screaming is, we expect to be very profitable for a long time to come. You add in more cash on hand and a leaner operation, and you're looking at a company that is operating from an incredible position of strength. So, what's the plan for 2026? They're laying it out right here. They're targeting a really strong return on equity, somewhere between 13 and 15%, and they expect that core servicing portfolio to keep on growing by another 5 to 15%. The message is clear. They believe this is not a one-time thing. And really, this one sentence sums up the whole story. This wasn't just a lucky break or a good year. Onity took a long-term, multi-year transformation plan and turned it into an absolutely record-shattering 2025. It's the payoff for a whole lot of hard work. Which leaves us with this final thought. There's no doubt that Onity absolutely crushed it in 2025, turning every challenge into a huge win. But the big question for all of us watching is, will that balanced, AI-powered strategy be resilient enough for whatever new challenges the future is waiting to throw at them?